With me now from the ClimateDepot.com, producer of Climate Hustle, Mark Moreno. Mark, first climate scientists were fear-mongering about global cooling, and then their narrative fell apart. So then they went on to global warming. And then with all the fluctuations and the snowmageddons and, the colder weather, then they went on to man-made climate change. And so now when it rains, when there's a drought, when it's hot, that's man-made climate change. But isn't that just the weather?
Yes, and this report is a classic example of what's wrong with the entire global warming debate. First of all, this report is issued every 4 years. 2009, they have all these alarming reports. It came out again, I think 2013, another alarming report. It's predetermined science. And what do I mean by that? The lead authors of this study are activists with environmental pressure groups. So if you're reading this report and you're thinking, and you're reading the New York Times report, gee, this sounds like a press release from Greenpeace or Union of Concerned Scientists, that's because it is. The lead scientists are activists with the environmental group Union of Concerned Scientists. And this report is given the stamp of okay by the National Academy of Sciences. The National Academy of Sciences is almost chiefly run by government support. And up until now, the government has been fully behind saying global warming is a problem and we must solve it. So they're paying the National Academy of Sciences to come up with an alarming report of a bunch of scary computer models. This is everything that's wrong with the entire debate. It is a nonsense report. The lead authors, both of them, Katharine Hayhoe and Donald Wubbles, have come out and said global warming is affecting every storm now, that it's got its fingerprint in the storm. And actual climatologists are out there saying this is nonsense. You cannot distinguish human fingerprint from natural variability. And the most important thing, storms are near record lows. Hurricanes, tornadoes, even droughts and floods are on declining or no trend on climate timescale. So it is a nonsense thing. It is a political report masquerading as science. We knew what it was going to say before they released it. It wasn't suppressed. It's been available for months.
Well, and the hysteria that comes with this fake leaked news report, and then they're going after the EPA's Scott Pruitt when he said that carbon dioxide is not a primary contributor to global warming. Well, that's right. I mean, he's right.
He's absolutely right. And Scott Pruitt is listening to the dissenting voices out there. And what you will hear in the media, what you will hear from climate activists, is this is all settled science. 97% of scientists agree. In the film Climate Hustle, which we did, we actually feature a United Nations lead scientist saying that the 97% of scientists agree claim is quite literally pulled from thin air. It crumbles when you touch it. It's a complete nonsense talking point. So climate activists don't have to talk about the science. They can just say, all scientists agree, therefore you're wrong. And Scott Pruitt's point is CO2 is not the control knob. This is absolutely true. When they claim it's the hottest year, that is utter nonsense. It's a fancy way of saying the global warming pause since the late 1990s is continuing because the temperature differences between alleged hottest years is within the margin of error. It's hundredths of a degree to tenths of a degree, and they adjust it to within tenths of a degree. The error margin of these temperature fluctuations, these claims are well within that. So there's no way scientifically they can claim hottest year, hottest decade. It's a political talking point. And the other thing the report does is it claims all these extreme weather is getting worse. It's not, but the way they give you the illusion, if you look at it from a lottery point of view, your chance of winning the lottery is very low. The chance of someone winning it is very high. So what the report does is it cherry picks all of these extreme weather events and says, look what happened here, look what happened here, a record broke. And then they make it look like these are happening everywhere. The same way a casino makes it look like everyone's winning the jackpot. They put the photos up. It doesn't mean you're going to win the jackpot. It doesn't mean the weather is actually getting extreme everywhere. But this is how they do it. Al Gore does the same thing in his sequel. Anecdotal nonsense. It's actually been called claptrap by some of the scientists. It's the way the global warming does their business. It's all by anecdote and predictions, scary predictions of the future.
Well, I want to make a couple points, Mark, but we got to go. So my first point is that they talk about, the temperature, it's going up. And like you mentioned, it's like less than a degree. I mean, it's like tenths of a degree over like the past 30 years. But Hundreds. No one has ever told us what temperature do we want? Like, what's the perfect temperature? And when the temperature goes up, some other parts of the world, they actually do better. So that's first of all. And then the second point that I wanted to bring up was you talked about the concerned scientists. Well, I interviewed John Coleman, one of the founders of the Weather Channel recently, and he told me that one of his friends, a scientist, signed up his dog to this organization, and like the name actually showed up on the list of concerned scientists. And my last point is former Vice President Al Gore. He is such a disaster, and it's an embarrassment that he's flying around on a private jet all over the world to promote his documentary on climate change. He's just fear-mongering. He makes money off of it. He has all these giant mansions, and he creates more CO2 than probably a whole village. And it's just so hypocritical. I'm so sick of being scolded by these people that are do as I say, not as I do. It's ridiculous. Mark, thank you for your time.